feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, danced a jig over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son, still have me life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Always Next Year podcast. This is the People's Take segment as we are on the road to Stomping Grounds this Sunday. I'm your host, LJ Harrell, and joining me today is my friend and colleague, Connor Donald. Connor, how you doing, buddy?
Good as always, yourself.
I'm doing really good. I'm be doing even better around this time tomorrow, and I won't have to go back to work until July 1st.
Yeah, I'm kind of jealous, but I'm doing the same thing in July when I go to Europe. So
you're going somewhere a lot better than I'm going. So I'd much rather go to Europe, but you know, to each their own. And at least we're both getting a chance to take some time off from work.
Absolutely.
I want first, before we get started, I want to thank the Jackdaws for bringing us into the People's Take. And again, this segment is going to be brought to you by Just Food. They're located over in the Buckingham. Excuse me. Sorry, I got it written down. In the Buckingham Green Shopping Center in Bucks County. If you want to get a hold of Just Food, call 215-794-FOOD. That's 215-794-FOOD. Treat yourself. Take it home. Been there a couple times. They got some good food over there. All right, so we're on the road to Stomping Grounds. Before we get into talking about Stomping Grounds in the card and giving our predictions, let's take it back a couple weeks to Super Showdown. Super Showdown was a glorified house show. These shows that the WWE puts on over in Saudi Arabia, that's all they are, because when you get to the pay-per-views after the fact, it's the same matches. On Raw, you see the same matches. On the SmackDown, you see the same matches. Nothing changes. And then you get the terrible match between Undertaker and Goldberg, and those two legends deserved a lot better. They should not have been in the ring, especially when all accounts it was like 110 degrees in Saudi Arabia, and the fact that Goldberg suffered a concussion during the match, that didn't help matters.
No, absolutely not. And you saw the botched moves. It was overall just lackluster. That was the only word I could get from it. I didn't even see the show in its entirety. I saw the highlights. I saw the Twitter reaction. I saw the botches that were made, and it was just purely lackluster.
Definitely agree. Looking at our predictions for Super Showdown, I beat you by one match because I took Randy Orton and you took Triple H, and Randy Orton defeated Triple H in what was probably the best match of the card, which isn't saying much because it wasn't that great of a card. And I watched the entire thing. It was kind of, it was just, like I mentioned before, it was just a house show. They got the big, the big fan reaction when Mansoor won the 50-man battle royal, and him being of Saudi descent, it got the crowd to be into it. It got the crowd hype, got the crowd excited, and you kind of, if I would have known that he was going to be in it, I might have picked him because you can kind of see WWE going in that direction.
Oh, absolutely. Just trying to tailor to the crowd. Absolutely. I mean, and the way they built it up as if it's supposed to be like WrestleMania, it was the farthest thing from. If we're sitting here today calling it a glorified house show, you missed the entire planet Earth with that WrestleMania type idea that it was supposed to be. And ultimately I found there was too much focus on building up the show that in the weeks leading up, it hurt Raw and SmackDown. There was just so much focus on just those few matches and those few people involved in matches that it took away from your weekly episodic television shows, and it was really quite disappointing.
I agree with you. And since WWE Super Showdown, SmackDown I think is better than Raw in terms of the quality of television or the quality that they put out on television. But, since then, both shows, and Raw especially, have been better. And it's not because, and it's, because they don't have to build up to this show that they overhyped way too much. You mentioned it. When the commercials are saying, Super Showdown is a WrestleMania-like event, if it's going to be a WrestleMania-like event, you want to have a WrestleMania-type card, and they definitely did not have a WrestleMania-type card. And then when your main event is the Goldberg versus Undertaker match, which failed epically, somebody has to take the brunt of that. And fortunately, it all lands back to Vince McMahon's feet, and nobody's going to go at Vince and say, look, dude, you need to figure this out. You need to fix it, because he owns the company. He's the billionaire. And if somebody's going to get on his bad side, or if he feels that somebody's getting on his bad side, he can just send them away. Granted, WWE doesn't want to take that road because of AEW, and they don't want talent walking over to AEW, but they're going to be put in the doghouse if somebody tries to step towards Vince McMahon.
Oh, definitely. You never want to cross a boss, man. And it's simple. And that's, I think, the biggest issue in the WWE right now. I mean, in listening to those interviews with Dean Ambrose, Jon Moxley, I mean, he speaks a lot to what the WWE is like, and that, like, he was one of few superstars who would come and say, this doesn't make sense, we should do it like this, or offering creative solutions directly to Vince McMahon. So maybe it's time for some others to step up, but like you said, you don't want to double cross him. Even if Triple H steps up, that I could only imagine it ending poorly for Triple H.
Well, I don't know if it would end poorly, but the chances of Vince actually taking any advice from anybody is slim to none. And there aren't you don't have the Stone Cold Steve Austins, the John Cenas, the Rocks. Maybe Roman Reigns can get to Vince McMahon's ear, but I don't think the WWE is going to allow a star to get as big as The Rock, to get as big as John Cena, to where they can make decisions based on, like, they don't want to go over to Saudi Arabia. I'm not going to go to Saudi Arabia. I don't want to show up to a show. I'm not going to show up to a show. They're going to try to keep these superstars on a leash to the extent to where they can't, call their own shots, like a John Cena can, like a Rock, like an Austin, even a Triple H when he was in his, full-time wrestling days. WWE is going to build their own stars and build them up, but just to an extent to where they still have the cover of the WWE, where they don't get bigger than the WWE.
Yeah, and even the stars like Roman Reigns, you say, might have Vince's ear, but that's because he loves Vince. Or Vince loves Reigns, sorry. So, yeah. I mean, I think it's just not necessarily that he has his ear. It's more he will say what he does and Reigns will just do it. And that's a relationship that they have. And that's what Vince likes, and that's what Vince wants, someone who will just follow him and say, yes, sir. And I feel like that's Roman Reigns. I feel like he doesn't argue the point. He doesn't try and change creative. Not that he needs to. He has the same moveset and the very lackadaisical mic that he has, mic presence that he has. So I don't think there's much to change as far as creative goes for him. But, I mean, it's just, it's kind of sad that this is where the WWE is at with Vince McMahon, and everything falls back to him, and he somehow doesn't realize that he is causing ill effect on Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah, and he does, and like you mentioned, he doesn't realize it, and everybody can see it from the outside. Even the talent can see it. Apparently there's a vibe in the locker room that just things aren't good right now. The way stuff is brought about, the way the creative team goes, the way matches are set up, and it's all because Vince has final say. And if Vince is going to get his way because A, he's paying them, and B, it's his company. And, if you're not going to follow his lead, he'll just put you in the doghouse. He's not going to get rid of you because of the competition, but he'll put you in the doghouse. He'll make you pay, and you'll have to suffer while you run out the remainder of your contract. And granted, what I'm saying kind of goes against logic in terms of what's happening with the Revival. I can't stand the Revival. I think they're boring, and they want out of WWE. And what does WWE do? They put the titles on them. Why? I have no idea why. They don't deserve the titles, but something has to change. There needs to be a vibe change, and I think it'll happen once Triple H takes over. We mentioned it during the our debut episode of the People's Take. NXT is the best thing that WWE is going on, and that's because Vince has nothing to do with it. It's Triple H, and he gets to run the show, him and HBK, and they're doing a fabulous job with it, and you can see the difference whenever you see any of these takeover shows.
Oh, definitely. You can just see it in the way that the wrestlers perform, the way the wrestlers use a mic and work promos. And I mean, no, there's no better example than I look at EC3. What EC3 has become under Vince McMahon is just so sad. And you can tell the man, every time he's part of anything, just does not. That when they had him come out for that brief moment before Seth Rollins smashed a chair over him a bunch of times, that was the most excited I've seen him look since he came up to the WWE.
Because he got some airtime.
Exactly, and it's sad. Like, you saw him when he was chasing after that 24/7 title. He just didn't care. You could tell here he is running around with his red cup, not giving a shit. And
I want to know what he has in that red cup. I know Renee Young said that, but I really do. I wonder if he's got a little Henny in that or something.
I wouldn't be surprised to get through everything he's going through. I mean, slip some liquor in there and just get through the night.
All right, so I want to talk about Raw this week. I thought Raw was really good. And for the first time, they have this new wild card rule, which apparently is supposed to be only 4 superstars able to go from SmackDown to Raw and vice versa, Raw to SmackDown. But by my count, pretty sure there were like 9 SmackDown stars that were on Raw. If you count the 3 New Day, Kevin Owens, they include Shane McMahon in that number. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I can't remember. Bailey, but the difference was they used the talent. There was actual wrestling taking place. It wasn't just a big Shane McMahon comes out, which I want to talk about Shane McMahon in a little bit, in a couple minutes. But Shane McMahon comes out, gets on the mic, I'm the best in the world, and Roman Reigns this, and Drew McIntyre is going to do this, and Elias this, and this. No, they actually had an episode where, there were wrestling matches and there were competitive wrestling matches, and it made it it didn't feel 3 hours like most Raws feel longer than that. It felt the show went by quickly, and that's exactly what Raw needs to be like.
I agree, and I think the biggest thing for me is the way that they finally used their whole roster. You saw Gallows and Anderson in their interaction with Styles. You saw Corbin talking with Young before he got smashed with a chair. Seeing them actually use them, not just chasing the 24/7 champion, but genuinely being built into promos and being seen and being given the opportunity to have some airtime. It felt so much better to see that instead of the same 6 SmackDown and the same 6 Raw people. You still saw them, but it wasn't for 2 weeks ago on Raw where the opening segment was literally 45 minutes of just talk, basically. It wasn't like that. And like you said, it was fun. Like that Styles promo with Gallows and Anderson, that was fun. That was interesting. It gets you saying, what could happen here? And I just hope that they don't go off that track and they start burying people chasing after Maverick for the 24/7 championship.
Yeah, I agree. I'm interested in what they're going to do with, the Good Brothers and AJ Styles, because we know that they were a clique in Japan. And, when they were in TNA, they had a thing together. Maybe now that they're both all 3 are on the same show, they can get the group back together. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see. And you're right. They can't veer away from this. They can't think that WWE fans are stupid. I feel like they think something can happen one day, and then the very next day they can go off the beaten path and think that we're not going to remember what happened the night before or what happened the week before. I think we're going to be all right, that they just don't even have any, they don't even bring it up anymore, because WWE has been prone to do that. So if they just have to find a way to keep these storylines on a consistent basis, at least for a little bit, to allow the characters to develop, to allow the storylines to develop, and then, you know, let it play out as we get to a pay-per-view. Like we're getting up to SummerSlam. This is where, you know, you should start building these storylines up so that it hits a climax at SummerSlam and we get the payoff that we've been waiting for.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think Stomping Ground has to be the end of this whole charade where you're running rematches and just going over old creative and recycling the Super Showdown, recycling WrestleMania. I think that once Stomping Grounds is over, you move on from some of these storylines. You build some new storylines. You get away from just this short build-up. Stomping Grounds, I find there wasn't enough build-up. That's why it's such repeat creative.
And that's why, and what you mentioned before is because they built up Super Showdown so much that they forgot about everything else. Unfortunately, though, you know, in the local markets where they have pay-per-views coming up, they have the commercials about the matches that are advertised. So for the Extreme Rules pay-per-view that is in Philly, they advertised Baron Corbin against Seth Rollins again for the title. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully that changes, but who knows? And apparently for Clash of Champions that's in Charlotte, North Carolina, I have a buddy that lives in Charlotte. He told me that they were advertising Dolph Ziggler against Kofi Kingston for the title again. I hope that the WWE changes this up because, again, you mentioned it. When we keep seeing the same match after same match after same match, it just gets old, especially when when you have a character like Baron Corbin who is boring and he's terrible on the mic. His character is awful, and they keep throwing him into these championship opportunities that he does not deserve.
Oh, definitely. I agree with that. I mean, I don't hate Baron Corbin as much as you per se, but you got to move on from some of these. Like, you got so much potential heels on that main card on SmackDown that you got to start moving away from Dolph Ziggler. As much as I like Dolph Ziggler, I just don't think he needs to be in the WWE Championship picture whatsoever. I think they need to move away from that.
I have a rumor for you, which I heard, and I don't know if you've heard this. How would you feel? There's a rumor going around that, and this is getting into my Shane McMahon point, that Shane McMahon is going to be the one to take the title off of Kofi Kingston. If that happens, how upset, how happy, what are your feelings towards if that storyline were to play out?
You know what? Me and a buddy were talking about this a little while ago, and you know what? I don't hate the Shane McMahon character and the stable that he's got and the people who are following him around. I just hate the amount of airtime he gets. I don't think it would hurt for a heel who's decent on the mic, a heel who can really get a roar out of the crowd like Shane McMahon to be the champion, because you're not getting that from Ziggler. You're not getting that from Kevin Owens. You're not getting that ruse from the fans that you could be getting. So I wouldn't actually hate it. I just hope that if they gave the championship to him, he wouldn't suddenly get like an hour of airtime every night again. That's my issue with it. You can't continue. Like on Raw, that was great. They just had him out back, still carrying on his party of being the best in the world. But he was just kind of there. He was off to the side. He wasn't out gloating and celebrating in the middle of the ring for 40 minutes of the show and taken away from the rest of the roster.
Yeah, and there's a lot of, backstage, how should I say this? Backstage new talk that people are mad that Shane McMahon is getting such a big push. He's not a I get it. He's the son of the owner of the company, and he pretty much can do what he wants. But like, he's not the one that should be getting the push to a championship level. Maybe that should be I'm not a big Drew McIntyre fan, but maybe that should be Drew McIntyre. Maybe that's the way that they're going to go if he is going to beat Roman Reigns at Stomping Ground and beyond. But it's just, I don't like you said it correct. I just don't like the way that he gets all the airtime and he's getting all the play, and they're pretty much building him up to be the star of SmackDown. And like, he's the biggest star on SmackDown. And that's just not, as a wrestling fan, that's not what I want to see. Pretty much is what I'm going.
No, I agree with that. I mean, I think I'm going to call it spite that's happening in the backstage with the roster is just the amount of airtime he gets. I don't think that it would be there if he becomes a champion and he appears for 10, 15 minutes every couple episodes. But the WWE just can't do that. They don't seem to want to do that with their champions. They seem to want to have their champions front and center, like their WWE and their Universal Champion front and center or involved in at least an hour of the show. And in SmackDown, you can't have that. You can't, maybe on Raw you can waste 40 minutes, but you really shouldn't, because then you lose the interest of a fan and they stop watching after hour one because they're like, oh, wow, I just watched Shane McMahon go on for 45 minutes and saw a half-assed match from some mid-carders after that. So, I mean, I saw someone tweet about it a while ago. If they went back to the way it should be, where the champion, your Universal Champion or WWE Champion, they cut promos, but they don't appear every week. They don't necessarily fight every Raw or every SmackDown. They're there. You know, their presence is there. You build up towards the pay-per-view. Those titles should be the lucrative selling point of pay-per-views. And the mid-card guys, the Universal or the Intercontinental Championship, the U.S. Championship, those should be your focal points of Raw and SmackDown. And you know what? I completely agree with that. I think we need to stray away from having the champion constantly there and eating up so much airtime, because Raw and SmackDown are what the mid-carders are there for.
Yeah, you know, I agree with what you're saying, but a lot of people got mad when Brock Lesnar was the champion and was never on a Raw and only worked every, you know,
I feel like that's different because he literally never ever appeared. This is more, even having Paul Heyman appear like on Monday and having them around as much as they are now is more than we saw in his entire Universal title reign. The difference being, if you show up every second week and you build the hype towards your pay-per-view match, that's good. But if you're going, not even defending at every single pay-per-view, that's why the Universal title, in my opinion, seems like a joke, because Brock Lesnar hurt the value of the championship, and I was hoping they wouldn't do the same with the Money in the Bank briefcase, and they definitely are not. They're having a lot of fun with the Money in the Bank briefcase, having him appear on TV, and I definitely don't actually, I hated it at the beginning, but I definitely don't hate it now. I like what they're doing with it.
All I know is watching speaking of the Money in the Bank, watching SmackDown on Tuesday, he's going after Kofi Kingston on the first Raw, or first Fox on SmackDown. I'm pretty sure it's October 4th, I think. Everything is pointing, and they're talking about going after Seth Rollins. He's going to go after Kofi or whoever has the WWE Championship. That's just my thought. I said it when we predicted the Super Showdown that he was going after Kofi. He's going to, or he's going to go after the WWE title. It's just going to be a little bit later, a couple months down the road, which is fine, because you're right. This is the most A we've seen of Brock Lesnar in a while, and B, this is the best he's been, the funnest he's been, and this is the type of Brock Lesnar we want to see.
Exactly, and I don't hate Paul Heyman. I hate Brock Lesnar, but Paul Heyman is probably the best guy on the mic in the WWE from a manager's standpoint, and even from a wrestler's standpoint. One of the best, and I don't mind seeing him every single week doing what he did, like he did on Monday. That was fun. I like that. I like where they're going with it, and
he has a way with words.
He does. He absolutely does. And I don't hate Brock, but having him there, that's all it takes. He doesn't have to wrestle. He's just standing behind Paul Heyman, jumping around and acting like he's listening to music out of the briefcase. That's all you need while Paul Heyman cuts a promo.
And it's not even that he has to be there, but the thought of him being there because he has the briefcase. So if Seth Rollins, if Kofi Kingston, if they're in a match and they're getting beat down, everybody's looking up the ramp and thinking, are we going to hear Lesnar's music? Or is the Beast coming? Because you have that thought in the back of your head, and that makes it exciting.
Absolutely. I think it's the most exciting that the Money in the Bank briefcase has actually been in a while. The only thing is, if they are actually going to make it the WWE Championship and he strips Kofi of the title, I think there needs to be a bit more focus brought to SmackDown and having that feeling that he might be there. It feels like it's all focused around Raw and Seth Rollins right
Well,
now. I think he has to get more of a split between the two.
And I think we're 3.5 months away until SmackDown moves over to Fox. So as we get more into the summer, as we get closer to the SummerSlam, and we go from SummerSlam to, SummerSlam's in August, then you have September, then you have October. That's when I think you're going to start seeing the shift. You're going to see Lesnar appear on SmackDown because he doesn't appear on SmackDown all that often. But this is where, the Fox executives, they want the stars on on SmackDown. So they're going to want the biggest stars to appear to get the ratings, whether that's Ronda Rousey if she comes back, whether that is Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, who's on SmackDown. If John Cena decides to come back, yeah, he's part-time, but he still gets a reaction and eyes follow him around. If these guys are going to, be part of the WWE, they're going to have to be part of SmackDown, or WWE is just going to have to do away with the brand split, which with this wild card rule, they're pretty much doing anyway.
They might as well, because originally when he set the wild card rule, he said 2 to 3 superstars will be allowed to go on the other show each week. Yet we have like a flood of superstars constantly going between the two shows. It's like a completely fluid roster at this point, and it just makes no sense. I say do away with the wild card rule or do away with the roster split. But at the end of the day, you do away with one, you do away with the other. And I agree. The Fox executive said they want 3 million viewers a week. And if they're not getting 3 million viewers a week, which they haven't in ages, then they're just gonna cut ties with the WWE. So they're strict that they want this to work. So they need those names. They need Brock. They need John Cena. They need Roman Reigns. They need everybody. They basically need to flood SmackDown with all the main eventers and just roll with it.
Yeah, I mean, when you're putting out $1 billion for something, you want the best product. So I can't blame them on that. And before we move forward with the what if scenarios, I still love this 24/7 championship. And now that Drake Maverick has it, he's apparently getting married. It wouldn't surprise me if, this weekend we see R-Truth pin Drake Maverick at his wedding to get the belt back. I could just picture that happening. And in the way that they have this going, it's still the best thing WWE has going is with R-Truth and everybody chasing this 24/7 title.
Oh, absolutely. It's the best thing to happen to the WWE in a long time. But I think it's important that it stays on people like R-Truth and people like Maverick, because Maverick's all over Twitter with the title too. You put that title belt on someone who's bigger and they might not be all over Twitter. They might not make it the social media sensation that this championship is. So I love it being kind of like a low card title where you have the EC3s of the world, the Mavericks of the world chasing. Like, why even Maverick? Why even? It doesn't make sense. He's not even really a wrestler. He's a manager. Yeah. But, I mean, that's just exciting. Having those low-card guys, having them all chase that elevator scene that happened two weeks ago.
That was
hilarious. That was great. It was great and made for great TV. And I think it keeps people beyond the Firefly Funhouse. It keeps people watching Raw to see what's R-Truth going to do? What's Maverick going to do? What are these people going to do for that title next?
Maverick dressed up as Carmella and then stole the referee's car. Like that was interesting. That was fun. It makes it exciting. And then you brought up the Firefly Funhouse. We're going to see Bray Wyatt soon. It's a matter of, will it be at Extreme Rules? Are they going to wait till SummerSlam? Will it be this week at Stomping Grounds? Who knows? But he's going to appear, and everybody is invested in the Firefly Funhouse. At first, I wasn't. I thought it was stupid. While I still think it is kind of stupid, it gets me intrigued every time Michael Cole goes, yep, we got another episode of the Firefly Funhouse. What's going to happen now? It makes it interesting because we talked about it in our debut episode of The People's Take. Bray Wyatt has such a great mind. They're letting him use it. They're letting him use the creativity that he has, and it's working to perfection with the Firefly Funhouse.
Oh, agreed. It's one of the things I look forward to. And that's why they put it bordering on the third hour, to keep you watching and to keep you invested into that episode of Raw. And he does have a crazy good mind. He said that he worked with The Undertaker to be creepy to be like The Undertaker, to be scary. And you can tell, while not exactly like The Undertaker, it's his own kind of scary. It's his own kind of creepy. It gets you excited. I just can't wait to see him wrestling again.
Yeah, it's just hopefully they put him in the right situation. Like, I don't know if I would throw him right into the WWE Universal title mix, but put him up against Samoa Joe. Put him in the United States title match scene, because a Bray Wyatt versus Samoa Joe story, I think that would be an awesome story.
Yeah, because you already have Samoa Joe built like this unbeatable guy.
Yep.
And all he's done is beat the living crap out of Rey Mysterio, and to the point where he actually like separated his shoulder. So, I mean, I think, and then now they got Ricochet up against him. I think put in another body that can be unbeatable, that can be scary and strong, and because Samoa Joe is not overly exciting on the mic. He doesn't bring a whole lot to promos. You bring Bray Wyatt in with him, and suddenly you're like, holy crap, look at Samoa Joe. I think Bray Wyatt would make Samoa Joe better. And I think it would be good for the two of them to have that.
I agree with you. All right, so let's move on to the what if portion of the People's Take, where you each pick 3 what if scenarios from WWE. It can be current product, yesteryear product, doesn't matter. And we take about a minute to discuss them. You can go first, Connor.
Okay, I'll go with my first one because I know how much you hate Baron Corbin. I say I have, what if Baron Corbin remained the lone wolf? I honestly
I would like that a lot better than what he is now.
I honestly did not hate that when Baron Corbin was the lone wolf. I actually really enjoyed that. You didn't hear much from him on the mic, so he kind of hid the fact that, he's not very good on the mic. I think it's getting old that every time I don't mind that I'm the son of this city. I don't mind that. But this whole, I retired Kurt Angle. I was a former acting manager. I was a former whatever Olympic wrestler, whatever accolades he lists. I think that's getting old. And with the lone wolf, you had a good mid-card guy who you could make hard to beat. You could make unbeatable. You could have him go after the Samoa Joes of the world, keep him in the IC title or US title picture. And you didn't have to hear him talk. You could have a Bray Wyatt, or you could have someone who cuts really good promos, kind of mask the whole fact that Baron Corbin doesn't know how to use a microphone.
I agree with you, and he would be out of the Universal title picture mix, because he doesn't belong on the main event scene. So I would much rather prefer him to be the lone wolf. All right, so my first one is, what if Brock Lesnar never left the WWE in 2004? Does John Cena get does he become a 16-time champ? Does Randy Orton become a 13-time, 12, whatever he is, time champ? How dominant would have Brock Lesnar been? Would he have held the belt for the amount of time that CM Punk did at one time? Lesnar leaving kind of, I believe, opened up opportunities for others in WWE to take a step forward and become the face of the company.
Oh, definitely. It changes the whole landscape when someone that the WWE invests in so heavily leaves or goes somewhere else or is off for such an extended period of time, like we sometimes see from John Cena. I mean, other people have to step in, so it changes the whole trajectory of a lot of people and their careers in the WWE.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. All right, what's your second one?
I have, what if Daniel Bryan never broke his neck?
Seriously? That's one of mine.
Well, there we go. Look at that. We could have a good discussion. What if it never happened? What if, I love where they've gone with him. I love the whole that they've been able to get Rowan into the picture, because you kind of wondered after Wire went down, what were they going to do with him? The fact that they can still have him around is good. But what if that never happened? Would they have ever tried this heel run? Would he have always been a face? Would he have gone after some of these longest title reigns? Like, he had so much potential, and his trajectory could only continue to go up prior to the neck break.
Yeah, I did. I didn't word it like that. Mine was, what if Daniel Bryan was injury free? It's pretty much the same thing. Yeah, you're right. What would his career have looked like? He wouldn't have been the general manager of SmackDown, which I thought he was a great general manager. I thought he did an outstanding job, but you're right. Could he have made significant title runs. Some of the feuds he could have had some feuds with CM Punk. His feuds with The Miz were pretty good. But there could have been feuds with other superstars. Him and AJ Styles, I think, would be a great feud if they were both like in their younger years a little bit. A lot of things he missed out on by not being able to wrestle. And did you hear the test that he has to go through after every match when he goes backstage?
No, I never heard of it.
I don't know it exactly, but like he has to do this long math problem apparently. Like they ask him, and it seemed like I don't even think I could do it. And I don't want to say I'm 100%, but like I don't have a concussion, and I'd have to look it up. And once I look it up, I'll bring it up the next time we have a People's Take. But like he apparently has to go through some long test after matches just to make sure he doesn't have a concussion again and that he's 100%, because obviously, he gets one more concussion, it's over for him.
Oh, definitely. It's just like kind of like the whole situation with Nikki Bella, because I just saw something earlier today that she has a cyst in her brain, and the WWE doctors and her own personal doctors have said you will never wrestle again. Not even give it a thought. They did say that about Daniel Bryan, and that's the risk that these people take. It's their life. It's everything. So Daniel Bryan, one more concussion might not just be the end of his WWE career, but it could be like personally disastrous. I mean, look at the situations with Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero. As much as we don't like to bring them up, those are the situations that come to mind when you think about Daniel Bryan and another concussion or another major injury around the head area.
Yeah. All right. So I actually just looked it up. It's actually not as bad as I thought. But so as soon as Daniel Bryan leaves the ring and he arrives backstage, he must solve a math problem to ensure his brain is functioning properly. He has to take the number 8, multiply it by 3, then multiply that number by 3 and divide it by 4. So after every match, that's what he has to do. So 8 times 3 is 24, times 3 is 72, divided by 4 is 18.
Yeah.
Right? I think I did my math right. So
I think you're good.
So I thought it was a little bit more than that, but still the fact that, which it's smart, again, like you mentioned, it's smart that WWE is going to try to keep him honest, because we know superstars, athletes, they like to take their bodies a little further than they should, but you don't want that to affect their livelihood.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, they've seen it happen in the WWE so many times where it has affected their personal livelihood. So now it's more than ever. You see it in all sports. You protect people from those concussions.
Yep. All right. So your final what if scenario.
My final what if scenario was, what if Randy Orton was never the legend killer? Because I believe that is one of the biggest things that made him who he was today. And there was rumors, well, not rumors, but people have talked about it after the fact that there was other people who might be who could have been getting that gimmick. And I can't remember who exactly it was. But, I mean, to think about it, so much went right for Randy Orton and being the legend killer and being in Evolution and being the youngest world champion, to get him to where he is and to get him to be one of the biggest names in the WWE and have such an illustrious career. Maybe not the titles, but we all know Randy Orton. So what if he never was the legend killer?
That's a good one. All right, my final one. What if The Undertaker never lost to Lesnar? Would he have went on and continued to win at WrestleMania and never lost the streak and just finished with an undefeated streak? Because we all know. I was
thinking about that one. I was going to say, what if The Undertaker never lost his WrestleMania streak?
Yeah,
but
we all know that, the matches are scripted and stuff, but that was the most shocked I was at somebody losing, because I did not expect The Undertaker to lose at WrestleMania. Did not expect that to happen. And you remember that guy's face at the end of that match, the one that everybody always shows.
The guy,
yeah, the meme, whatever. That's how everybody was. Nobody expected that to happen. And Lesnar being the guy to do it, and apparently it was Undertaker wanted it to happen. It was all on Undertaker said, "Yep, this is what I want to happen in this match." You got to give him credit for not wanting to keep his streak going and that be his legacy. But what would have happened if he didn't lose that match? Would he still be undefeated? Would he have lost to Roman Reigns? I always imagined that his one and only loss in WrestleMania would have been to John Cena. But obviously things didn't go that way.
I'm glad it happened with Lesnar and not Cena. Personally, I didn't want to see John Cena be the one. He's had so much go right in his WWE career, and I think there was a point in time where they even considered like a Roman Reigns. Like I don't want to see that. The Brock Lesnar had the whole shock element and the whole pure hatred element because everybody loves to hate Brock Lesnar. So you know that you're gonna get the pure hate, you're gonna get the shock, you're gonna get after the fact just a hatred saying why Brock, and that it was probably the perfect person to pick to end the streak.
I think Brock Lesnar's the perfect heel. I think if it was going to be somebody, it had to be a heel, and I don't know if there's any better heel. Maybe The Miz, maybe The Miz is a heel, but Brock Lesnar I think is the top heel maybe in WWE history.
Even The Miz, he's gone back and forth face heel, and you can't, like, Brock Lesnar has never really been a face.
Yeah.
He's been that guy that everybody loves to hate. So it was the true heel to take and use in that situation.
All right, so they were good scenarios for this week's What If. Now we're going to step forward to the brand new pay-per-view that nobody knows about, WWE Stomping Grounds. Now, before we get to our predictions of the matches, did you hear WWE's issue with selling tickets? They were offering 2-for-1 deals. That's how bad ticket sales are going for this pay-per-view.
Yeah, I actually heard about that, and I heard that the officials were desperately thinking about ways to improve the card to increase the ticket sales, and nothing ever came of it.
It's kind of late for that now.
No, well, they were going to do it this week and change some matches or add some matches, and they really didn't do anything to increase attention on the event. So I'm interested to see what that stadium looks like.
Man, and it doesn't help that for AEW's pay-per-view All Out, I think it's called, that they sold out in 15 minutes. So obviously, again, AEW's the hot thing going right now. They haven't had a weekly episodic show yet. Things could obviously change as we get into the future because things, when you're putting on a show every week, there's only so much you can do. And AEW hasn't done that yet. They could put all their cards, they could put everything into these pay-per-views that they do once every other month. But when you get to doing a show every week, that's where AEW is going to be tested. So obviously, all their pay-per-views leading up to their first show on TNT, they're going to be sold out. They're going to be hot. How are they going to do when they have to do a weekly show every week? And that's what WWE is going through right now because we want to see something new. We want to see something hot, but it's so hard to be that creative week in, week out. Even though they are getting paid all the money, they should be able to do it.
Yeah, I mean, and especially with Vince McMahon, when you have that same mindset week in and week out that has to approve everything you do, it's difficult. But even the creativity of a Jon Moxley or a Cody Rhodes or whoever it may be, eventually their mindset has to shift too. You can sit there and say these are unscripted promos, this is that, but eventually it becomes a lot more difficult, and eventually that Jon Moxley that everyone's completely enamored with right now, eventually that character people sit there and say something needs to change. Seems kind of boring. It's the same thing over and over. You can sit there and say it's unscripted all you want and continue to unscript everything. But like you said, I mean, Raw and SmackDown are how many shows, 200, 300, 400 episodes in? Eventually, plus pay-per-views.
I'm pretty sure it's in the thousands, isn't it?
I can't even remember.
I think just had a
Raw.
Raw's over 1,000, yeah.
Like imagine, and then the pay-per-views and the characters like that becomes quite difficult after 1,000 episodes to continue to do that.
We just finished WrestleMania 34, 35, 33, something like that. Yeah. Like when you do this year after year after year, and like when you have the best show, when you go back to like the Attitude Era, when that's when the best of WWE, it's so hard to replicate that.
Oh, definitely is.
All right. So we're going to go into the card and the predictions. We're going to start with the lower level matches and then go to the championship matches. First, the key championship matches. The first is the Cruiserweight title, because I'm not a big fan of 205 Live. But Tony Nese is defending his title in a triple threat against Akira Tozawa and Drew Gulak. Who do you got?
I got Tony Nese. I don't really watch 205 Live. I don't know much about what's going on there. I would love if they were moved back to SmackDown or moved to Raw because I don't have the WWE network, so I don't see this.
You keep forgetting to
205
ask me, man. I got you.
I know, but I don't even think it would be overly exciting to watch
Yeah,
205
no,
Live. I don't know if you watch it every week
No,
or
I
not,
don't.
but it's just not something that really excites me. I got Tony Nese, although looking into a lot of stuff, a lot of people think Drew Gulak has a good chance of dethroning Nese, but Nese is an athletic freak, so be
I
cool
went
to see him get an opportunity.
the last SmackDown I went to in Philly. They taped they were doing 205 Live after. Yeah, 205 Live is nothing to write home about. It's kind of boring. It really is. So, yeah, I mean, I don't watch it at all. I'm actually taking Drew Gulak just because I think to have somebody else run with the title. Like, why the heck not? Let's go to the SmackDown tag team titles. Daniel Bryan and Roman Harper versus Heavy Machinery.
I got Bryan and Rowan winning this one and retaining. It's too soon, I think, to dethrone them. They have a good character going. They're just starting to turn their focus back into the tag team division. And I think Bryan and Rowan are good to keep as champions, to continue to bring attention and to build some steam in that tag team division. Although I won't rule out Heavy Machinery having an opportunity in the future because they are a weird ass tag team, but really,
They're
really
fun to watch.
interesting. Yeah, they're fun to watch. I mean, it's cool. It's a really different character and creative set than you're used to. So I go Bryan and Rowan retaining here, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them maybe down the road SummerSlam getting another shot and building something more because, well, they built this whole situation in basically a week.
You pretty much took the words right out of my mouth. I'm taking Rowan and Bryan, but just exactly what you said. Heavy Machinery, I think, will eventually be tag team champs. Also because I think Daniel Bryan is going to get put back into the WWE title picture, and I don't think they're going to let him run with two titles. So I do think right now they'll keep the titles, but in the future, Heavy Machinery has a great opportunity to take the titles away. The next match, New Day against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. That's Big E and Xavier Woods going up against the best friends of Owens and Zayn.
I got Owens and Zayn. I love Owens and Zayn back together. They got that good mix of sarcasm, some humor, dark humor, rude humor to the fans. They just have such awesome characters right now, and they're two of my favorite heels going right now. I love the whole Sami Zayn and the way he interacts with the crowd right now. He's building himself to be a truly awesome heel after going away as a face, and he came back and everyone was in love with him, going crazy. And then when he burst into that whole thing he was doing, I was like, holy shit, what a fast heel turn. I'm going Owens and Zayn.
I'm taking New Day, but I think it's going to be a pretty good match. Only thing, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if New Day wins because Owens accidentally kicks Zayn, or Zayn accidentally gives the haluva kick to Owens, something like that. But I think New Day is going to come away victorious. I like KO to an extent. Zayn gets on my nerves a little bit, but when they did that dumb electric chair segment a couple of weeks ago, I'm glad they haven't brought that back because that was the dumbest thing. And they brought up AEW and all that. I thought that was shocking because it was a couple days after their first pay-per-view. But yeah, I think.
Well, I guess they claim it was unscripted, and Zayn did it, and I guess Vince McMahon got super upset afterwards.
I don't know. I thought that it was scripted, but then taken out. But he could. I don't know. It's weird. I think it was originally in the script, but maybe at the last second they took it out. You know, I'm not shocked that he brought it because some of the questions that were asked by the fans were stupid. Obviously, they were like, "When are you going to retire?" Like, who the heck cares?
you have the opportunity to ask this guy anything, and
all
the questions they got were really stupid. I didn't like one question. I was like, just end this segment, please.
I definitely agree with you, but I'm going to take New Day, and I love the New Day character. I hope they don't ever break up. Obviously, it's going to happen probably, but I just love them, that faction together.
Yeah,
Big E
I
is
saw
great.
lots of talk about Big E potentially turning on Kofi at some point and maybe pushing him into a championship picture, kind of, or maybe once he loses a title, which I would like. I can't picture Woods or Kingston as a heel, but I can definitely picture Big E as a really good heel.
I don't see him turning on. I mean, that was my thought when he got hurt and then he came back. Like eventually that would happen, but after the whole the Big O thing, I don't think that's going to
It's
happen.
the ultimate breakup, though. If
It
you're gonna
really
break
would
up
be.
the New Day, somebody's got to turn on somebody.
Well,
You
it was like
can't just
it was
let
like
them disperse.
I know it was like the Shield breaking up the first time when Rollins turned on him. Nobody expected that to happen. So when it happens, everybody will be shocked because nobody expects it to happen. All right, then the next match, and also we're gonna do the United. Why isn't the Intercontinental title being defended? Is Finn Balor hurt or something like that we don't know about?
I haven't seen anything, but man, the way he took those, ever since he took all those shots at Money in the Bank with the ladders and suplex with ladders, he's barely been on TV. He's barely defended. He's barely anything, like not even cutting promos.
The IC title's not being defended, and the women tag belts aren't being defended. Granted, Iconics never defend them for anything. All right, next match.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, no. Samoa Joe, the United States champion, against Ricochet, which I really like Ricochet. I think Ricochet has probably the best music right now, the best entrance music in WWE. When you have Triple H with the whole one and only, like, I think I love his music. It has a great beat to it. Who do you think has the best music in WWE right now?
I love the Miz's music, but I mean it's just catchy, and I really like the Miz, so I might be a little biased in that. I really like Orton's too. I always enjoyed the Orton's music too.
I miss Cena's basic thugonomics. I won't lie. Like when he came out that one WrestleMania. That was the most excited I've gotten. Like throughout the entire card, that got me excited when he came out to that. All right, so Samoa Joe against Ricochet. Who are you taking?
I got Ricochet winning and becoming the new champion. I think that the WWE wants to push Ricochet, and what better opportunity than to beat Samoa Joe and kind of run with that and have a bit of a rivalry build with Samoa Joe, where showing Samoa Joe's beatable because Ricochet's this like superhero, superhuman type character that he's kind of rolling with. So I got Ricochet winning this.
I would love to see it, but I took Samoa Joe mainly because I think that Bray Wyatt is not going to come back this week, but when he comes back, I think he's going to start a feud with Samoa Joe. Obviously, this is just me going off the whim. I have no idea what it actually is going to happen, but I would love to see Ricochet. I like Ricochet, but I think it's a little too soon for him to get a title run, a singles title run, but he definitely has a bright future.
Yep. Oh, without a doubt, he's got so much talent. They put him out there every night. Those matches with Cesaro were incredible. It was like the Firefly Funhouse. You're like, oh man, this can't wait to see Cesaro and Ricochet, because the athleticism in the two of them and just the connection they had was just so great.
All right, so next match, Roman Reigns against Drew McIntyre, who we know is going to have Shane McMahon in his corner. I'll go first. I'm taking Roman Reigns. I know that Vince loves Drew McIntyre, but he also loves Roman Reigns. And I know you're not a Roman fan, but I'm a Roman fan, so I would love to see him come away with the victory. And again, it's going to be kind of like all odds against him because Shane McMahon's going to be there. He's going to get involved. We know it's going to happen. Elias might show up and get involved. Lashley could show up and get involved. But I think that Roman Reigns will come away with the victory.
I have Roman Reigns as well. This is the one I had the toughest time picking between. But I went with Roman Reigns too for basically the exact same reason you did. Can maybe continue that feud. I don't really know where I want that to go because I just don't know where I want Shane. I don't know where I want. I don't want him on situation. Yeah, not on TV as often would be great, but yeah, I got Roman Reigns. Just the love that Vince has for the two of them. I think he's still gonna have Reigns keep winning.
All right, the next match is the Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch against Lacey Evans. I'm taking Becky Lynch mainly because I don't see. I mean, it would be a swerve, obviously, if Lacey Evans won, but I don't see them taking the belt off of Becky just yet. And I think Becky is going to come away with the victory over Lacey Evans, who I actually am a fan of Lacey Evans. I just don't see it being her time yet.
Yeah, I think it's same thing with me. I have Becky winning this. I don't think it's time to take it off. The fans love her. The fans support her like more than any other champion. They started supporting Kofi at the start really hard, and then it's kind of wavered off and tapered off a bit. But I have Becky Lynch retaining. I think that Lacey Evans should get it eventually, but I really think she's got to put some work in on that mic. It's difficult to watch her try and cut a promo, and she's got to work on her in-ring. Some of those botches that she's had are really bad, and it makes wrestling look really fake. So I think she really needs to work on more her in-ring ability than her mic ability. I can live with the mic ability, and I get the character. She's not very outspoken, old Southern classy. You're not that outspoken when you're classy. So I get it. I get the character, but she's got to work on her in-ring work big time.
Yep, I definitely agree with you on that. The next match, the SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley against Raw superstar Alexa Bliss, and she's going to have Nikki Cross in her corner. Who you got?
I got Bayley retaining, mostly because I think it makes absolutely zero sense to have Alexa Bliss win that title, and I think that Bliss and Cross are going to be next up, building towards SummerSlam against the Iconics in a bit of a rivalry with them.
I think the two girls that Paige is leading.
You mean the ones who have
Asuka,
barely been on television?
Yes, they're going up. They're going to take the belts off of the Iconics. That's who I think is going to take the belts.
That's fair. I can't wait to see which direction it goes. But I don't think that Alexa Bliss it doesn't make sense.
I agree
does
with you.
Not make any sense to have it that way.
Yeah, I think Bayley is going to win, because then I think the future feuds for both the women's title, Becky against Bliss and Bayley Bayley against Sasha. I still think Sasha's coming back. I know that, she's not happy with her status right now and not happy that the tag belts got taken off of her and Bayley. But what better way to bring her back than have her feud with her best friend for the SmackDown Women's title? That's where I think that they are going to lead towards as we go towards SummerSlam.
Yep, makes sense.
All right, the SmackDown or the WWE Championship, Kofi Kingston against Dolph Ziggler in a steel cage.
I'm actually excited for this match. I think this is probably going to be the one that steals the show, mostly because of how aggressive Ziggler's been through all of this and the opportunity to be in a steel cage. And I got Dolph Ziggler winning it, but I don't have him keeping it for long. I have him probably, by Extreme Rules, maybe another change, but get the belt off of Kofi, get one of the big championships changing hands. So I got Ziggler winning just because of the type of match, the aggression, and the character that he has. I think it's a golden opportunity to take advantage.
I'm actually shocked there. I have Kofi winning, but could this be the week? Again, I mentioned earlier, I think it's going to happen on Fox, but Kofi wins, Ziggler gets mad, beats the holy hell out of Kofi, throws him up on the cage, does this, does that. The cage goes up, Lesnar comes out, pins him for the title.
It very well could happen. I wouldn't be surprised, but I would be surprised. I think they want to wait closer to the Fox debut and continue to have that presence, like you said, on Raw, and start to have that presence on SmackDown of, if you have the WWE Championship or the Universal Championship, you better be watching over your shoulder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes sense. But, I mean, again, I have Kofi. I don't see them. If somebody's going to take it off of Kofi, I don't see it being Ziggler. So, again, we hear the same promo from Ziggler every week. It should have been me. You had a bright future, and I gave you all this credit, but it should have been me. It's getting old hat. I don't think Ziggler is going to win. And our final match, the Universal Champion Seth Rollins against Baron Corbin in a special guest referee match. I'm glad that they haven't told us who the special guest referee is, because this gives us another opportunity. Who you got winning, and who do you think is the special guest referee?
I have Paul Heyman as a referee. I think that Paul Heyman just fits the mold, especially after the promo he cut, and just that whole idea of having Brock in the back of your mind. It's like Heyman's here, Brock's got to be here with that title, getting in Seth Rollins' mind, and then I have Seth Rollins winning.
I also have Seth Rollins winning, but I have two names for the special guest referee, and I have it. My first name was Brock Lesnar. Nobody would expect Brock Lesnar. My second name is Shane McMahon. I'm gonna go with Brock Lesnar, so we're kind of in the same boat. But like, if Lesnar is the special guest referee, that means Rollins has to keep his eye on two guys, because you have to keep it on Corbin and then Lesnar with his briefcase. And Michael Cole and all the commentators always talking about who's gonna step up and who's gonna take the wrath, who's gonna be the special guest referee, knowing that Rollins has a steel chair and he's going to take, like, how many people are actually going to go at Brock Lesnar with a steel chair? We've seen Rollins do it, but nobody would expect Brock Lesnar to be the special guest referee. So I think that would be a good swerve.
Definitely no one would expect it and would be a great swerve. I just have a hard time believing there could even be a match if Brock Lesnar is a special guest referee. That's why I think Paul Heyman makes sense, because you have that element of, there's still some surprise element to it, and then it's Seth Rollins is still like, okay, I know that if you're here, Brock's somewheres, and keeping an eye out.
Yeah, I just hope it's like there's this big build up to who the special guest referee is, and then it ends up being like an Elias or something like that. That would be such a letdown. I want it to be like a big surprise. It would be a huge surprise if it was Lesnar. It would be a huge surprise if it was Heyman. It would be a huge surprise if it was freaking Vince McMahon. Like, that would be shocking. So I just want to be shocked. Hopefully I'll be able to watch on Sunday. But like, if not, when I get back from vacation and I put it on and watch it, I just want to enjoy it, and hopefully we get the wow factor as we get to the end of Stomping Grounds.
Absolutely. I'm the same way. I mean, they've disappointed so often that this is something you can't disappoint on. You got to come and you got to give the full-on shock treatment and get this right and make it a match worth remembering and a referee worth remembering and talking about the next day.
Definitely agree with you there. We have four matches that we were different. So finally a week or a pay-per-view where we're not thinking the same. But hopefully, cross our fingers, WWE Stomping Grounds is good. It should be better than WWE Super Showdown, which shouldn't be that hard because that show was awful, in my opinion anyway. But after Stomping Grounds, it leads to, I'm pretty sure it's Extreme Rules. I think it's
Extreme Rules, yeah, and then I think it's SummerSlam after that.
Actually, no, I think it's Clash of Champions and then Extreme Rules.
No, Clash of Champions is September.
Oh, yeah, you're right. My bad. Clash of Champions is September. So
I think it's Extreme Rules in like the middle of July, then SummerSlam in August, Clash of Champions, Royal Rumble. Is
something,
Royal Rumble in
something
October?
like that. So, but yeah, we'll definitely have to, as we get closer to SummerSlam, and hopefully, that's when we can pick up steam with the People's Take too, and have an exciting show, because SummerSlam is supposed to be the second biggest pay-per-view for WWE. So hopefully they have a good
The way they built up the Super Showdown, they damn well better build SummerSlam some good.
All right, so your final thoughts about WWE Stomping Grounds, as we are just a couple days away.
I just have one thing, and it's thank God we haven't had to hear promos cut about Great Balls of Fire. That's all I know. That's all I care about. I can live with Stomping Ground, still an atrociously named pay-per-view. But like I said, the build-up just wasn't there for me.
The graphic for Stomping Grounds was awful, too. If you remember what the graphic looked like.
Oh, Stomping Grounds and
or
Great Balls of Fire.
That's what I meant. The Great Balls of Fire.
God-awful.
The Great Balls of Fire, the graphics for that, what it looked. Do you remember if you're picturing it, what it looked like?
Yep.
Yeah, that was awful.
Yep.
That was terrible.
And just listening to people cut promos saying Great Balls of Fire, it's like, man, this is like a comedy show. This is like a sitcom. Like, don't say that. Don't call it that.
The tagline for Stomping Grounds is "Take names and kick ass" or something like that. That's stupid. Every time Michael Cole said it, I wanted to strangle him. But so we are a few days away from WWE Stomping Grounds. Thank you for listening to the People's Take. This is our second episode. We are excited. Hopefully we can get this rolling and get WWE fans excited, and hopefully WWE gets us excited, because if they don't get us excited, I don't even know if there's a point in anybody really watching them anymore, especially with what AEW's got apparently has up their sleeve. For Connor, who can be followed on Twitter at Connor10, that's at Connor TEN. I'm LJ Harrell, can be followed at LJ Harrell54. Help me get my followers up, please. I'm only at 76. I would like more. And you can follow the Always Next Year podcast Twitter at ANY podcast if you ever want to be a guest on the show. If you have any storylines that you think WWE should go with, who your favorite wrestler is, just any stories that you have with wrestling growing up, anything, just let us know. We'll always share them as we do our People's Take segment. Again, Connor, thank you, my friend. I hope you have a good couple of weeks, and I hope you enjoy Stomping Grounds.
I absolutely cannot wait.
All right.
Enjoy
Connor,
your vacation.
Thank you, sir. I hope so. Won't have to go to work. It'll be nice. For Connor, I'm LJ. Thank you for listening to the People's Take here on the Always Next Year podcast.
A fighting man I used to be, revered and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, and so jig over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky souls still have me life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.